जय यशोधनन्दन जय व्रज जनरञ्जन जय यशोद नन्दन जय व्रज जनरञ्जन जय यमुना तिरवनचारि जय कुञ्ज विहारी 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। जगन्नाथ बलदेव रमाई की जय। नरसिंह भगवान की जय। पंच तत्व की जय। षड गोस्वामी की जय। गुरु परंपरा की जय। श्री गुरुपाद की जय। श्री गुरुदेव ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God Narayana, unto Narayana, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Shri Vyasadeva the author. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तम श्लोके bhaktir नैष्टिकी. By regular attendance in classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhu's Mother Peace. I welcome all of you for this Bhagavatam session and thank you for joining. So, today we'll be discussing from fourth canto, first chapter, three verses 31, 32, and 33. So, 31st verse. अतास्मदंश भूतास्ते आत्मजालोकविश्रुताः भवितारोऽङ्गभद्रं ते विस्रप्स्यन्ति च ते यशः. अतास्मदंश भूतास्ते आत्मजालोकविश्रुताः भवितारोऽङ्गभद्रं ते विस्रप्स्यन्ति च ते यशः. Anybody wants to recite this verse? Okay, word meaning, synonyms. Atha, therefore, asmat, all, amsha bhutaha, plenary expansions, te, your, atmajaha, sons, loka vishrutaha, very famous in the world, bhavitaraha, in the future will be born, anga, dear great sage, bhadram, all good fortune, te, unto you, visrapsyanti, will spread, cha, also, te, your, yashaha, reputation, translation by Shilpapa, ki jai. You will have sons who will represent a partial manifestation of our potency. And because we desire all good fortune for you, those sons will glorify your reputation throughout the world. Go to 32nd verse. Evam kamavaram dattva pratijagmu sureshwaraha sabajitastayo samyak dampatyor mishatostataha. Evam kamavaram dattva pratijagmu sureshwaraha sabajitastayo samyak dampatyor mishatostataha. Word to word meaning. Evam, thus, kama, varam, desired benediction, tattva, offering, pratijagmuhu, returned, sura ishvaraha, the chief demigods, sabhajitaha, being worshipped, tayoho, while they, samyak, perfectly, dampatyoho, the husband and wife, mishatoho, were looking on, tataha, from there. Translation by Srila ki jai. Thus, while the couple looked on, the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, disappeared from that place after bestowing upon Atri Muni the benediction. Go to 33rd verse. Somo bhut brahmanom shena datto vishnostu yogave durvasa shankarashyamso nibodangirasa prajaha. Somo bhut brahmanom shena datto vishnostu yogave durvasa shankarashyamsho nibodangirasa prajaha. Synonyms word to word meaning. Somaha, the king of the moon planet. Abhut appeared. Brahmanaha of Lord Brahma. Amshena, partial expansion. Tattaha, Dattatreya. Vishnoho of Vishnu. Tu, but. Yogavid, very powerful. Yoga, very powerful yogi. Durvasaha, Durvasa. Shankarasya, Amshaha. Shankarasya Amsha, partial expansion of Lord Shiva. Nibodha, just try to understand. Angirasaha, of the great sage Angira. Prajaha, generations. Translation by Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Thereafter, from the partial representation of Brahma, the moon god was born of them. From the partial representation of Vishnu, the great mystic Dattatreya was born. And from the partial representation of Shankara, Lord Shiva, Durvasa was born. Now, you may hear from me of the many sons of Angira. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Gyantimrandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutabada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sujivam साद्वैतम सावधूतम परिजन सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सगणिता श्री विशाखाकांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचम् इमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यां च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्। मुखं करोति वाचालं भङ्गं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे नमो विष्णुवाय महाशिवस्वामिनाम्ने नमो विष्णुवाय भक्तिदासाय जय श्री कृष्ण चरण। So, Hare Krishna Guru Mataji, again, I welcome all of you and thank you for keeping the appointment with Krishna today for hearing Shrimad Bhagavatam. So, this chapter, fourth canto, first chapter, this is entitled Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu. Actually, in the first verse, in the purport of the first verse, Prabhupada says, in this fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 31 chapters. And all these chapters describe the secondary creation by Brahma and the Manus. So that means actually Bhagavatam deals with 10 subject matters. So it is given in Bhagavatam, second canto, 10th chapter, verse number 1 and 2. It lists the 10 subject matters which is dealt with in Bhagavatam. The first one is Sarga, because in this Varpat Prabhupada speaks about Brahma is creating the secondary creation is created by Brahma. So what is the first one? Sarga. The first creation is by Brahma, Vishnu, who brings forth the five gross material elements, the five objects of sense perception, the 10 senses, mind, intelligence, and false ego, and the total material energy, right? So this is the Sarga, the first creation. And the second is Visarga. And that is the second creation of work of Brahma or the progeny, for the population. So producing the moving and unmoving bodies in the universe. That is Brahma. See, the Supreme Lord himself, he does the real creation by agitating his material energy. And then by his order, Brahma, who is the first living creature in the universe, he attempts to create the different planetary systems and their inhabitants, and thereby expanding the population through his progeny like Manu and other progenitors of living entities, because who work very perpetually under the order of the Supreme Lord. So in the first chapter of this fourth canto, there are descriptions of the three daughters of Swayambhuva Manu and their descendants. So as it is described, Swayambhuva Manu had three daughters named Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. And of these three daughters, one daughter is Devahuti, and which we already saw in the previous third canto, right? Kapilamuni, with her husband Kardamuni and her son Kapilamuni. So in this chapter, the descendants of the first daughter Akuti will be specifically be described. See, we can see in the 15th verse that it says Anasuya. Anasuya is the wife of Atri Muni. Now, who is Atri Muni? Atri Muni was a great Brahmana sage and was one of the sons born from the mind of Brahmaji. So Brahmaji is so powerful that simply by thinking of a son, he can have a son. So these sons are known as Manasa Putras. So out of the seven Manasa Putras of Brahmaji, and out of the seven great Brahmana sages, Atri was one of them. And in his family, the great Prachetas were also born. So Atri Muni had two Kshatriya sons who became kings. King Arthama is one of them. And he is counted as one of the 21 Prajapatis. And his wife's name was Anasuya. And he helped Maharaj Parikshit in his great sacrifices. So Anasuya, the wife of Atri Muni, she gave birth to three very famous sons, Soma, Dattatreya, and Durvasa. And they were all partial representations of Lord Vishnu. Lord Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So Soma was a partial representation of Lord Brahma. Dattatreya was a partial representation of Lord Vishnu. And Durvasa was a partial representation of Lord Shiva. So we can see the three sons born of Anusuya, Dattatreya, Durvasa, and Soma. So they were born as partial representations of the three demigods. See, the sixth incarnation of Purusha was the son of the sage Atri. And he was born from the womb of Manasuya. This is given in 1.3.11 Bhagavatam, who prayed for an incarnation, right? So he spoke on the subject of transcendence to Alarka, Prahlada, and others. So the Lord incarnated himself as Dattatreya, the son of Atri and Anasuya. The history of the birth of Dattatreya as an incarnation of the Lord is mentioned in the Brahmanda Purana in connection with the story of the devoted wife, Anasuya. It is said that Anasuya, the wife of Rishi Atri, She prayed for before the Lords Brahma and Vishnu and Shiva. My Lords, if you are pleased with me, and if you desire me to ask from you some sort of blessings, then I pray that you combine together to become my son. So this was accepted by the Lords. And as Dattatreya, the Lord, he expanded this philosophy of the spirit soul and especially and instructed Alarka Prahlad. So the great sage Atri prayed for an offspring, a son, right? And the Lord, being satisfied with him, he promised to incarnate as Atri's son, Dattatreya. Datta means the son of Atri. So, and by the grace of the lotus feet of the Lord, now many Yadus, they became so purified that they obtained both material and spiritual blessings. See, in the purport of 274, Prabhupada says, transcendental relations between the personality of Godhead and the living entities are eternally established in five different affectionate humors, which are known as Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. So the sage Atri was related with the Lord in the affectionate Vatsalya. Therefore, as a result of his devotional perfection, no, he was inclined to have the personality of God as his son. Lord accepted his prayer and he gave himself as the son of Atri. So Prabhupada says such a relation of sonhood between the Lord and his pure devotees can be cited in many instances. And because the Lord is unlimited, he has an unlimited number of father devotees. See, factually, the Lord is the father of all living entities, correct? But out of transcendental affection and love between the Lord and his devotees, the Lord takes more pleasure in becoming the son of a devotee than in becoming one's father. See, the father actually serves the son, whereas the son only demands all the sorts of services from the father. Therefore, a pure devotee who is always inclined to serve the Lord wants him as his son and not as the father, so that he can serve, right? So the Lord also accepts such service from the devotee. And thus the devotee becomes more than the Lord. Whereas the impersonalists, no, they desire to become one with the Supreme. But the devotee, he becomes more than the Lord, surpassing the desire of the greatest monist. See, parents and other relatives of the Lord achieve all mystic opulences automatically because of their intimate relationship with the Lord. Such opulences include all details of material enjoyment, salvation, mystic power, everything. So the devotee of the Lord does not seek them separately, thereby wasting his valuable time in life. See, the valuable time of one's life must therefore be fully engaged in the transcendental loving service of God. Then what happens? Other desirable achievements are automatically gained. Material also, spiritual also. But even after obtaining such achievements, one should be on guard against the pitfall of offenses at the feet of the devotees. Example is of Haihaya, who achieved all such perfection in devotional service, but because of his offense at the feet of a devotee, he was killed by Lord Parashuram. So the Lord became the son of the great sage Atri and became known as Dattatreya. Now, in the summary of Bhagavatam 9th canto 14th chapter, it said, see, Lord Brahma was born from the lotus that sprouted from the navel of Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. Brahma had a son named Atri, and Atri's son was Soma, the king of all drugs and stars, the moon planet, right? Soma became the conqueror of the entire universe. See, Soma, he conquered the entire universe, right? And he was inflated with pride. And what happened? He kidnapped Tara, who was the wife of Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods. So what happened? A great fight ensued between the demigods and the asuras. But Brahma rescued Brihaspati's wife from the clutches of Soma and returned her to her husband, thereby stopping the fighting. In the womb of Tara, Soma begot a son named Buddha, who later begot in the womb of Ila a son named Aila or Pururava. Actually, this Aila or Pururava, this is actually it is a very nice episode in Bhagavatam, wherein see Urvashi was captivated by Pururava's beauty. Therefore, she lived with him for some time. But when she left his company, he became almost like a madman. So, Aila Gita, that is known as Aila Gita. This episode of Bhagavatam is known as Aila Gita. And it speaks about the story of King Pururava and Urvashi. A very wonderful episode, but it will take a long time. So, just giving a where it is. The Aila Gita appears in the 11th canto, 19th chapter. But it has its beginnings in the 9th canto. And then it continues in the 11th canto. So, it's a wonderful story. Please go through that. See, the purport of 4th canto, 15th chapter, 6th verse. Prabhupada says, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that whenever one sees an extraordinary power, he should conclude that a specific partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present. See, there are innumerable such personalities, but not all of them are direct Vishnu Tattvas or plenary expansions of the Lord. See, many living entities are classified as Shakti Tattvas. See, such incarnations, that is, empowered for specific purposes, that is known as Shakti Tattvas, are known as Shakti Avesha Avataras, only for certain purposes. So, King Prithu was such a Shakti Avesha Avatara of the Lord. Similarly, Archi, the King Prithu's wife, she was also Shakti Avesha Avatara of the goddess of fortune. See, when we are reading this current chapter, the 31st word, no, Amsha, there's a word Amsha. Amsha is plenary expansions. See, in the 10th canto, first chapter, 69th verse, Prabhupada is giving about the no that this chapter he speaks about describes the Krishna appeared as Amshena, that is with his parts and parcels or his partial manifestation. So in this connection, Sridhara Swami says that Krishna is 100% Bhagavan. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Now, because of our imperfections, we cannot appreciate Krishna in fullness. And therefore, whatever Krishna exhibited when he was present on this earth was but a partial manifestation of his opulence. Again, Krishna appeared with his plenary expansion Baladeva. Krishna is our full. There is no question of his appearing partially. And Srila Jiva Goswami says that the word Amshena means that Krishna appeared with all his plenary expansions. So the words Amshena Vishnoho do not mean that Krishna is a partial representation of Vishnu. Rather, Krishna appeared in fullness and he manifests himself partially in the Vaikuntha Lokas. Means Lord Vishnu is a partial representation of Krishna. Lord Vishnu. Krishna is not a partial representation of Vishnu. Krishna is the Supreme Personality. See, in the translation of 4131, which we are discussing, Prabhupada says, you will have sons who will represent a partial manifestation of our potency. And because we desire all good fortune for you, those sons will glorify your reputation throughout the world. So we just saw the partial representation, right? You all have sons. So the Atri Muni's prayers were answered. So they were telling Atri Muni, you will have son who will represent a partial manifestation of our potency. That is Brahma, Vishnu, and Sadashiva, Shiva. And what they gave a very, very big benediction. They said, because we desire all good fortune for you. Because they were very pleased with the prayers. And they said the good fortune is those sons will glorify your reputation throughout the world. See, the prayers offered by so this point we'll discuss more in detail with the points with regard to all good fortune for you, Krishna. See, everybody would like to have fortune. Luck is not a fortune. Fortune means for us, fortune is basically material fortune. We want this, we want that, we want green card, we want good house, wife, and cars. So many things, right? Materially, whatever. When you go in front of the Lord, we have a big list. And we all just giving, but instead of praying, we just give him the list, please provide all these things. And he will definitely provide. But he knows what is good for you and what is not good for you. If you're a devotee of the Lord, Krishna will provide you everything. But if he knows that if he provides a particular material comfort or whatever it is, then it may it may hamper your sadhana in your devotional service. That he will not provide. Let us see some examples. So this all good fortune is very good. So we should get that good fortune blessings of the Lord. See in 424:69 purport. The prayers offered by Lord Shiva are very, Prabhupada says, with regard to prayers offered by Lord Shiva, are very authoritative and significant. See, simply by offering prayers to the Supreme Lord, one can become perfect. Just by reciting shlokas or chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One can become perfect simply by offering prayers. Even though engaged in his occupational duty, we are doing our duties also as a responsible householder. But still, you can become perfect. The real purpose of life is to become a devotee of the Lord. It does not matter where one is situated, right? So whether one is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, American, Englishman, Indian, whatever it is, one can execute devotional service anywhere and everywhere in the material existence simply by offering prayers unto Supreme Personality. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is also a prayer. Because for a prayer addresses the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his name and invokes good fortune by petitioning the Lord to allow one to engage in his devotional service. So this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it invokes good fortune. Hare Krishna Mahamantra also says, my dear Lord Krishna, my dear Lord Rama, O energy of the Lord Hare, kindly engage me in your service. See, although one may be situated in a lowly position, he can execute devotional service under any circumstances. Ahai tuki apratihata. Devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. Bhagavatam 1:2-6. That's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended this process. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta. Sorry. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva. Jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadeya vartam. Sthane sthita shruti-gatam tanuvan manobhir. Ye prayasho jita jito piyasita istrilokyam. It is Bhagavatam 10:14-3. It says, one may remain situated in his own place or in his own occupational duty and still lend his ear to receive the message of the Lord from realized source. So the Krishna, Prabhupada says, the Krishna conscious movement is based on this principle. And we are opening centers all over the world to give everyone a chance to hear the message of Lord Krishna in order to go back home, back to Godhead. So with regard to all good fortune, again, in 4:9:19, the Lord, when Dhruva Maharaj was doing his austerities, the Lord came in front of him, right? So he said, my dear Dhruva, son of the king, you have executed pious vows and also know the desire within your heart. Although your desire is very ambitious and very difficult to fulfill, I shall favor you with its fulfillment. All good fortune unto you. This is what the Lord says. See, the Lord is so merciful to his devotee that he immediately said to Dhruva Maharaj, let there be all good fortune for you. How wonderful, right? When you do your prayers and the Lord comes in front of you, say, let there be good fortune for you. So the fact is that Dhruva Maharaj was very much afraid in his mind because he had aspired after material benefit while he was doing his devotional service. And actually, this was hampering him for reaching the stage of love of Godhead. That's why in Bhagavad Gita 2.44, it is said, Bhogaishwarya prasaktana. Those who are addicted to material pleasure cannot be attracted to devotional service. It was true that at heart, Dhruva Maharaj wanted a kingdom that would be far better than Brahmaloka. See, Dhruva Maharaj was a 5-year-old boy, right? So he was not allowed to sit in the lap of his father. So his mother told him, the only person who can provide whatever you want is the Lord. So you have to go and pray to him. So while he was going out, Narada Muni came to him and gave him the instructions how to do your prayers. So see, so he wanted a kingdom far better than his grandfather, great grandfather, Brahmaloka. So this was a natural desire for a Kshatriya. See, he was only a 5 years old boy. In his childish way, he desired to have a kingdom far greater than his father's or grandfather's or great his father. See, his father was Uttanapada, who was the son of Manu, and Manu was the son of Lord Brahma. So Dhruva wanted to excel all these three great family members. He was the topmost. So as a 5-year boy, naturally, he said, I want the best. So Lord knew Dhruva Maharaj's childish ambition. So Krishna knew about it. But how was it possible to offer Dhruva, a position more exalted than Lord Brahma. So the Lord assured Dhruva Maharaj that Dhruva would not be bereft of Lord's love. He encouraged Dhruva not to be worried that he childishly had material desires. And at the same time, he had the pure aspiration to be a great devotee. So he had the material desire as well as also the aspiration to be a great devotee. So generally, the Lord does not award a pure devotee material opulence, even though he may desire it. But Dhruva Maharaj's case was different. The Lord knew that he was such a great devotee that in spite of having material opulence, he would never be deviated from love of God. This is the important point to understand. So the Lord knew. So Krishna is in the heart of everyone, right? That Paramatma. So he knows the motive of everybody. Whether you're asking for a material thing only for your sense gratification or to even improve your devotional service. That means offer everything to Krishna. So the example states that a highly qualified devotee can have the facility of material enjoyment at the same time execute love of God. Correct. Whereas Dhruva Maharaj was a special case. Now in the case of Prahlad, see again Krishna is telling, my dear Prahlad, Narasimhadev, my dear Prahlad, most gentle one, best of the family of the Asuras, all good fortune unto you. Here also he is telling all good fortune. Because I am very much pleased with you. So our main purpose of devotional service is to please the Supreme Lord Krishna. You see, in this world, we cannot please anybody, everybody. Impossible. One time you may do, one time, two times, three times. And some other time, they may not be pleased. Because the main problem is we cannot please everybody all the time is because there is expectation. The moment there is expectation, then disappointment, frustration, anger, everything follows. No expectation is the best expectation. So this is the point. So here, again, he's because he was more, he told Prahlad Maharaj, all good fortune to you, because I am very much pleased with you. So if you just pour water into the root of the tree, automatically the leaves also get nourished. If you take food into your stomach, all the other parts of the body also get nourished. You cannot put separately through your hand, through your nose, through your ears, the food. No, separately they cannot. It cannot be. It has to go to the root. So that's the point to understand. So the root is Krishna. Aham, aham sarvasya prabhu matatvam. He says, I am the source of everything, material and spiritual. Everything emanates from me. And also Brahma says, right? Sarva karana karanam, Brahma Samhita. So he says, I am very much pleased with you. It is my pastime to fulfill the desires of all living beings. And therefore, you may ask from me any benediction that you desire to be fulfilled. So Krishna is also known as Bhakta Vatsala, the supreme personality who is very much affectionate to his devotees. So it is not very extraordinary that the Lord offered his devotees all benedictions. And he said, in effect, that I fulfill the desires of everyone. He told Prahlad, since you are my devotee, whatever you want for yourself will naturally be given. And he also said, but if you pray for anyone else, that prayer also will be fulfilled. That also he told Prahlad Maharaj. So if you approach the Supreme Lord or his devotee, or if we are blessed by a devotee, naturally we will automatically achieve the benedictions of the Supreme Lord. What a beautiful statement, right? Prabhupada said. If you approach the Supreme Lord or his devotee, or if you are blessed by a devotee, naturally we will automatically achieve the benedictions of the Supreme Lord. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadaha. So Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura says that if one pleases the Vaishnava spiritual master, all of one's desires will be fulfilled. Now, we always hear that we should be humble, we should not be envious, no jealousy, we accept no reaction. Now, the point to understand, question come, right? Okay, you should be humble, always submission. You should not react, all these things, not get angry. But there was a question to my Guru Maharaj. He said, Maharaj, if we are too soft or tolerant, people will kick us hard and try to misuse our goodness. So Guru Maharaj told us a story on how to behave with demoniac people. There's a short story in this connection about a snake who became a devotee upon the instructions by Narada Muni. Narada Muni instructed him not to bite anymore. Now, since ordinarily a snake's business is to bite, fatally bite other living entities. But since he was instructed by the Narada Muni, as a devotee, he was forbidden to bite. Unfortunately, what happened? People took advantage of this non-violence on the part of the snake, especially the children who began to throw stones at him, beating with the sticks. So he did not bite anyone because it was the instruction of his spiritual master, Narada. So after a while, when the snake met spiritual master Narada, he complained, Narada, I have given up the bad habit of biting innocent living entities. But they are mistreating me by throwing stones at me. So on hearing this, Narada instructed him, don't bite, but do not forget to expand your hood if you are going to bite. So when you are about to bite, you expand your hood, right? So you just show that, but don't bite. Then they will go away. They will be afraid. So he said, I told you not to bite, but he said not to make them afraid of. So similarly, devotee is always non-violent. He is qualified with all good characteristics. But in the common world, when there is mischief made by others, he should not forget to become angry, at least for the time being, in order to drive away the miscreants. So the lesson we should always remember is that we have to control the anger, not allow anger to control us. We have to control the anger, not allow anger to control us. So when we are engaged in services, we come across people of different talents, needs, and talents, right? So we should remember that these talents are coming from Krishna as assured by him in the seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Tejas Tejasvinam Aham, prowess of all powerful men, I am the one. So we should feel happy that the people are nicely using their talents in service of Krishna. But being deluded by the modes of nature, many times we fall prey to envy. So Srila Prabhupada, in one of his letters to his disciples on January 2nd, 1972, he very nicely mentions the difference between the competitive spirit in the material world and that in the spiritual world. He writes, here the competition is for sense gratification. Here means in the material world, the competition is for sense gratification. How much I can enjoy my sense, and other person sees how much he can enjoy his senses. In the spiritual world, the competition is how to satisfy Krishna. So there the center is one, Krishna. So if you are drawing innumerable circles, they will not overlap. But in the material world, the circles will overlap. Even a small circle can overlap a large circle. This is because in the material world, there are many centers. Whereas in the spiritual world, there is only one center. So the one center will go on drawing the circles, then it won't overlap. If you have many points, centers, then definitely. So the spiritual world, whether the circles are big or small, they will never overlap. In the spiritual world, similarly, whatever or whoever is rendering the service, there is never competition of any envy or anything. No. So the ultimate goal of whatever devotional service you are performing is to please Krishna. So it is important that we keep Krishna as the center and not our own selves. We must also understand how we are very limited. We are all limited. That's why, see, in metal, we also know, right? That's why we keep the company as Voltas Limited, this company limited, because they know they're limited, right? They never put us this limit unlimited. So we must make the best use of whatever talents Krishna has bestowed and also learn to appreciate the talents in others. So when we do in such united spirit, Krishna is very, very pleased. See, when the Prachetas, the sons of King Prachinibarhi, he served the Lord in a united manner. The Lord says in Srimad Bhagavatam 4:38, 4th canto, 30th chapter, 8th verse. He says, the Supreme, my dear sons of the king, I am very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I am so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of. See, this is another point where Krishna is telling about the good fortune to them. Because they are all united with cooperation, especially in the programs, in many organizations, in various programs. They are all united in doing all the sevas. There is no envy, there is no anger, fighting, nothing of that sort, right? So then, in that case, Krishna says, because he says all of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. So therefore, he says, I am so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. And now you may ask a benediction too. See, there is a proverb, right? United we stand, divided we fall. So Let us all appreciate the talents and qualities of others and serve the Supreme Lord Krishna in a united manner. So Krishna, Prabhupada mentions in the purport that is real unity, and that unity will please Krishna. See, when Dhruva Maharaj, another point we can understand, when Dhruva Maharaj started killing all the yakshas in an attempt to revenge the death of his brother Uttama, Swayambhu Monu, Dhruva's grandfather, he appears in front of him and advises him to give up anger and not to slay all the yakshas for the sake of sin committed by one of them. So Manu was greatly affectionate towards his grandson Dhruva. And he also knew that Dhruva is a great devotee since childhood, who was gifted with direct darshan of the Lord when he was just 5 years old. So he didn't want Dhruva to be misled by anger and degrade from the path of spiritual progress. That's why in the verse 4, 11, 31 of Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, "My dear king, just consider what I have said to you." So Swami Manu is telling to Dhruva Maharaj, just consider what I have said to you, which will act as medicinal treatment upon disease. Control your anger, for anger is the foremost enemy on the path of spiritual realization. I wish all good fortune for you. Please follow my instructions. So he gave an instruction, and if you follow the instructions, all good fortune will follow you. So it's wonderful purport to this word. Prabhupada says, anger is such that if one increases it, it increases unlimitedly. So in order that Dhruva Maharaj's kingly anger not exceed the limit, Manu was kind enough to check his grandson. So Dhruva Maharaj could understand the purpose of his grandfather and immediately stopped the fighting. The words Shrutena Bhuyasa means by constantly hearing. Very important. By constantly hearing about devotional service, one can check the force of anger, which is detrimental to the process of devotional service. What a beautiful statement of Prabhupada. By constantly hearing about devotional service, one can check the force of anger, which is detrimental to the process of devotional service. So Parikshit Maharaj said that the constant hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is a panacea for all material diseases. Everyone, therefore, should hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So by hearing, one can always remain in equilibrium. And thus, his progress in spiritual life will not be hampered. See, in this regard, with regard to anger, right? In this regard, we came a very nice story. See, once there lived a devotee by name Madhu. So Madhu was eager to learn about devotional service. And he approached a guru and asked him to teach how he could become close to the Supreme Lord. Now, the guru was well aware of Madhu's defect of anger. He knew that this would prevent him in his spiritual progress. So what did the guru do? He decided to first prepare Madhu before teaching him serious spiritual practice. So the guru, he told Madhu, "Dear Madhu, chant the Lord's names during all your activities for 1 month. Then take a bath and come back to me." So starting the very next day, Madhu chanted the Lord's names during all his activities. Then after a month, he went to a river, took a bath, put on fresh clothes to visit the Guru. On the way to the Guru's ashram, his clothes got dirty as a sweeper was sweeping the street carelessly. Now Madhu was furious and he shouted at the sweeper, "What you are doing, you fool! Now I have to go back, wash and dry these clothes and bathe again. Such waste of time." The Guru observed the scene. He was looking at it. And when Madhu reached the ashram, he said, "Dear Madhu, you are not ready yet for further spiritual practice. Chant the Lord's holy names during all your activities for 1 more month. Take a bath at the end of it and come to see me." So Madhu accepted Guru's wish and went back to the chanting along with his daily activities. And when that month was over, Madhu was returning to again the ashram very eagerly. A similar incident happened. This time, the sweeper accidentally brushed his dirty broom against Madhu. Again, Madhu became furious at the sweeper. It was accident by accident, but still he became angry. And now again, Guru sent him back, asked him to chant the Lord's name for another 1 more month. At the end of the third month, when Madhu was on his way to visit the Guru, something unusual happened. The sweeper, he saw Madhu approaching him. And he remembered the way Madhu had treated him, how he had furious anger and all with him. Even though what had happened was by an accident, right? So he was angry now. He noticed that Madhu was once again wearing new clean clothes. So this time, before Madhu could do or say anything, the sweeper was furious at Madhu, intentionally poured all the dirt from his garbage onto Madhu's head. But this time, Madhu folded his hands and prayerfully said, I thank you. You are my master. You taught me how to overcome anger. Now the sweeper was surprised and thereby he hung his head in shame. This time, when Madhu reached the Guru's ashram, Guru was waiting for him. Guru was pleased and he patted Madhu on the head, just as a mother pats a child on his achievement. So there are a few lessons which we can learn from this story. Number one, in our lives, we come across many such situations that make us angry. But it is possible for us to overcome the anger if we also take the shelter of a pure devotee, hear their instructions, and sincerely attempt to practice the same. Number two, Madhu completely overcame his anger after 3 months of chanting the Lord's holy names and by obeying the Guru. He viewed the super as a master who helped him overcome his anger. So the chanting the holy names makes us humble and to see everyone as master. And number three, we can also see how anger is contagious like any other bad habit. The sweeper was initially doing his job without any intention of offending Madhu. But when he started receiving scolding for mistakes which he did not commit, then in the next instance, he also became angry. So the way we behave has an influence on others' behavior as well. So we should deal with everyone very carefully so that they are not provoked to become angry. So I came across a very inspiring article about an incident which happened in a sports stadium in Hyderabad. Eight children, whereas eight of the eight children were standing on the track to participate in a running race. So the teacher said, ready, steady, go. Now with the sound of the toy pistol, all eight girls started running. Hardly they are covered 10 to 15 steps when one of the smaller girls slipped and fell down. Now, due to the bruise and pain, she started crying. When other seven girls heard the little girl cry, they stopped running, stood for a while, and turned back. Now, seeing the girl on the track, they all ran to help. One among them bent down, picked her up, kissed her gently, and inquired as to how she was. They then lifted the fallen girl, pacifying her. Two of them held her firmly, while all seven joined hands together and walked towards the winning post. There was pin drop silence among the audience. The officials were shocked. Slow claps multiplied to thousands because as the spectators stood up in appreciation, and many eyes were filled with tears. See, the sport was conducted by National Institute of Mental Health. So all these special girls had come to participate in this event. They were spastic children. See, the world might name them as mentally challenged, but they have taught a wonderful lesson that winning the game is not more important than values of caring, sharing, cooperation, and humane behavior. So these girls exhibited the Bhagavatam quality of Daya. We usually think that Daya means mercy or kindness. But Srila Prabhupada has given an amazing translation for this word in verse 1:16-26 of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Mother Earth glorifies the different transcendental qualities of the Lord. Prabhupada says, Daya means intolerance of others' unhappiness. Intolerance of others' unhappiness. That is Daya. We think mercy, kindness, and love. We cannot tolerate others being unhappy. But in the material world now, it is not that intolerance of others' happiness. But that's the point going on. But Prabhupada gives example, meaning of Daya as intolerance of others' unhappiness. So unless we are factually intolerant of others' unhappiness, we will not get the urge to sacrifice our own pleasures to relieve them of their unhappiness. So life in this material world has become so busy and hectic that there is so much competition in every field of life. We do not even have the time to think how much everyone in this world is suffering. Even if we have some free time, we only use that time to become anxious on seeing others being happy and prosperous, envious, jealous. But it's so heartening to see such young souls teaching us wonderful lessons on compassion, which we need to follow in our life. The second lesson we learn from this incident is teamwork. There's a famous proverb, united we stand, divided we fall. So many times we fail to understand the potency of how much could be achieved when things are done united in team spirit, cooperating with each other. So when the 10 sons of King Prachinibarahi, the Prachetas, unitedly engaged in devotional service, Supreme Lord was very pleased, right? Then he said, I am so pleased with your mutual friendship. I wish you all good fortune. So when we are practicing devotional service also, the goal is just to please Guru and Krishna. It is not about whether we are doing more seva than others, not how much we are pleasing. That is so such comparing and competing nature. No, it kills the very spirit of seva, and the results only in displeasing Krishna. That's why the purport Prabhupada very nicely explains this unity between individual souls is so strong within this material world that even in a society of Krishna consciousness, members sometimes appear disunited due to their having different opinions and leading towards material things. And Prabhupada again gives the next statement, very wonderful statement. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be two opinions. There is only one goal, to serve Krishna to one's best ability. Very nice, beautiful statement, Prabhupada. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be two opinions. There is only one goal, to serve Krishna to one's best ability. And again, he beautifully states, if there is some disagreement over service, such disagreement is to be taken as spiritual. So those who are actually engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be disunited in any circumstances. So this makes the Supreme Personality of Godhead very happy and willing to award all kinds of benedictions to his devotee, as it is indicated in this verse. So by remembering the golden words of Srila Prabhupada, let us engage in unallowed devotional service to Supreme Lord in a united manner and try to help each other in our journey back home, back to Godhead. See, we should not differentiate between Krishna's name, Krishna's qualities, and his descriptions in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. See, in Bhagavatam 7:4-25, Ma bhaishti vibhuda shreshtaha sarvesham bhadramastuvaha maddarshanam vibhutanam sarvashayopapattaye. The voice of the Lord vibrated as follows. O best of learned persons, do not fear. I wish all good fortune to you. See again, I wish all good fortune to you. Become my devotees by hearing and chanting about me and offering me prayers. For these are certainly meant to award benedictions to all living entities. Beautiful prayer, 7:4-25. The moment we think, my Guru Maharaj used to say, the moment we think that Krishna is different from his name, activities, and glorification, we will be in anxiety. The moment you think that Krishna is different from his name, Krishna is Krishna and name is different, activities are different, then we will be in anxiety. See, when we read Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam or chant these holy names, the vibration we hear is not different from Krishna. And only when our minds are purified by this vibration, we can go to his lotus feet. The attachment to this vibration will come only when we understand that all this material manifestation is temporary and completely like a dream. And in his class, he was telling, yesterday you came here and spoke to me, and we all know that. All that is a dream now. We have met a few times in the past, and now all that is like a dream. And he said, man, when you die, everything will be here. Your flat, your job, your vehicle, but you will go. So when this idea sinks into your mind, then we'll come to the reality of appreciating Krishna's names and descriptions. See, we fail to comprehend the idea that Krishna is not different from his name, form, and descriptions. He's not different. But we think that he's different. Then that's why we think that reading Bhagavad Gita is one thing and seeing Krishna is another thing. No. That's why in Kathopanishad it said there is no difference. Whatever in the it's whatsoever in the Supreme Lord between his name, form, qualities, and activities. So one who sees difference goes from death to death. He does not attain release from this material world. So the nature of God is absolute. And because by his grace, he has invested his complete power in his name and descriptions of the Vedic literature. And by associating with him through these Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and chanting, we can feel his presence. And you also sense his bona fide representative, the Acharyas, spiritual master, Guru, in the form of spiritual master and devotees to spread his name and glories. We can see Srila Prabhupada and all the wonderful Acharyas. And recently, of course, we saw His Holiness Gopal Krishna Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So many wonderful, you have to just follow in their footsteps. So all the various processes mentioned in Vedic literature, such as Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, meditation, very stringent rules and regulations involving restrictions with respect to time, place, and circumstances, right? We should be very, very careful. See, the process of glorifying the Lord by chanting his names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And also the prayers from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. They are free from such restrictions, no restrictions. Because the Supreme Lord Krishna is all pervading, no matter where we are. When we chant his glories, we become connected to him immediately because he and his glories are identical. Also, in the Vedas, many sacrifices, such as Ashwamedha yajnas, are prescribed, right? So, when a person learns all these yajnas and fails to perform them, he will incur sinful reaction because he's not doing any of the yajnas in spite of knowing them. Knowingly, you know it and you're not doing, that is sin. So, reading and following are different in this case, in that case, right? But in the case of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, if one recites these verses and if one is unable to follow all the rules mentioned in them, he will still get the spiritual merits because reciting Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and hearing them itself is a form of devotional service. Shravanam and Kirtanam. So Prabhupada has very nicely summarized everything and given us a proper conclusion of the scriptures. So coming in touch with Prabhupada's books, it is easy to understand that devotional service is the conclusion. So even if a person reads a small book of Srila Prabhupada, one can derive this conclusion very easily. So let us all pray at the feet of Guru, Prabhupada and Krishna, so that we will gain determination in chanting the holy names and reading the scriptures, commented, be united in whatever service seva we are doing, so that we can get the fortune of going back home, back to Godhead. Stop here. Thank you very much, Prabhu Mataji, for giving me this opportunity to glorify the Lord through Srimad Bhagavatam. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev ki Chinta Go. Vancha kalpataru kripa sindhu bhayevacha patidanam pavane Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Pataji. Hare Krishna. So any questions or anything to share? Any points you felt? So good fortune is most important. So how to get good fortune? Right? Yes, Mother.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mother.
The class as usual, it was very nice. हम लोग थकते ही नहीं हैं आपके आशीर्वचनों को सुन के कान कभी थकते नहीं है प्रभु जी. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And the
Most
definition of
wonderful.
mercy actually touched Prabhuji. How you define Daya. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Everything was so wonderful and touching, but it is something that especially does. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very nice class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kalyani Mataji.
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Nice to see you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, wonderful. I was mesmerized by the way that you put it across. Extremely good, Prabhu. Honored to have wonderful Vaishnavas like you amongst us.
Same here, Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It was very
Krishna,
beautiful class.
Thank you.
About Dhruv Maharaj example. It was really very, very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. So if you have anything else, otherwise I'll stop here. Thank you,
Prabhuji, just request you to kindly share the recording with me.
Yeah, I'll share the link, Mother. It'll be there in the YouTube. I'll share it. Thank you, Mother.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. We had a very nice class, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Okay, thank you. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to glorify the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.